The burned. From orbit, the fires looked like orange wounds spreading across the night side of the planet. Ambassador Telos watched from the observation deck of the last functioning station, his four-fingered hands pressed against the cold glass. 19 days ago, the Empire had come. 200 warships had appeared at the edge of the system, and everything had changed. They were peaceful. They were scientists, artists, and teachers. They had 12 defense ships, old ones that were meant to chase away pirates, not fight a war. Those 12 ships were now 3. The rest were debris floating in the darkness between worlds. Telos had sent messages to everyone. The Republic said they were sorry but could not risk war with The collective expressed deep concern and promised to discuss the matter at their next council meeting. The Simply did not answer. No one was coming. They were alone. His assistant, a young female named, entered the observation room. Her scales had turned gray with stress, a sign of deep fear in their species. Ambassador, we have received one more response. Telos did not turn from the window. Let me guess, more sympathy, more regret, more reasons why they cannot help. No, sir, it is from the humans. Now Telos turned. The humans. He knew little about them. They had joined galactic society only 40 years ago, which made them bobbies compared to species that had traveled the stars for thousands of years. They were strange creatures. 2 arms, 2 legs, soft skin with no scales or shells. They lived short lives, maybe 80 or 90 years, which seemed impossibly brief. Most species thought humans were too young to matter, too small, too new. What do they say? Telos asked. Looked at her tablet. They say they are coming. Far across the galaxy, Admiral Park stood on the bridge of the carrier Indomitable. He was 53 years old, with gray hair cut short and a face that had forgotten how to smile. He had served in the Navy for 30 years, through the border conflicts, through the pirate wars, through every fight humanity had faced since reaching the stars. The distress call played on the main screen. An official face twisted with fear, begging for help. Behind him, explosions, screaming. The message cut off suddenly, replaced by static. Sir, his communications officer said, this message has been sent to every major power in the sector. No one has responded positively. Park nodded slowly. How many civilians? 3 million on the planet. Another 200,000 on stations and ships. And what do they do with prisoners? The officer hesitated. Labor camps, sir. The ones who survive, many do not survive. Park had seen the intelligence reports. They did not just conquer, they broke their victims. They worked them until they died. They erased cultures, burned libraries, and silenced songs. A species conquered by the did not just lose their freedom. They lost everything they were. Get me a secure channel to Fleet Command, Park said. I need to speak with General. On Earth, in a bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains, General read the same distress call. She was 61, thin and hard, with eyes that had seen too much death. Her younger brother had died in the border conflicts, shot down over a moon whose name she still could not say without pain. The holographic display showed the system. Red markers indicated ships. So many red markers. Admiral Park's face appeared on her screen. General, you have seen the message. I have. They are asking for help. Leaned back in her chair. The Galactic Council expects us to send a token force. 5 ships, maybe 6. A gesture, something to show we care without actually risking anything. Is that what you want to do? Was quiet for a long moment. She thought about her brother. She thought about the day she had received the news, how the world had gone gray and silent. She thought about 3 million waiting to die because no one would help them. No, she said, that is not what I want to do. Then what are your orders? She walked to the display and looked at those red markers, those 200 enemy ships. Then she looked at the blue markers showing Earth's fleet spread across 12 systems. All of them, she said. Park blinked. General. Send all of them, every carrier, every battleship, every destroyer and cruiser and frigate we have. Call back the patrols. Cancel the training missions. I want the entire fleet at the system in 72 hours. General, that will leave our own systems undefended. I know. The Council will say we are overreacting. Let them say it. Park allowed himself a small smile, the first in months, and if the do not retreat turned to face him directly, her eyes were cold and certain. Then we will kill every single one of them. She cut the channel and began sending orders. Across human space, ships that had been sleeping woke up. Engines that had been cold began to burn. Sailors who had been dreaming of home received messages telling them to prepare for war. The Galactic Council would not understand. They thought war was about strategy and politics. They thought you calculated risks and made careful choices. They did not know humans. Humans did not calculate. Humans felt. They felt anger at cruelty. They felt sorrow for the helpless. They felt a burning need to stand between the weak and those who would hurt them. They had asked for help. They expected a gesture. They did not know that humans did not make gestures. When humans helped, they helped with everything they had. In 72 hours, the galaxy would learn what that meant. Captain Lee was drinking coffee in her small cabin when the orders came. She commanded the destroyer Avalanche, a fast ship with big guns that had spent the last 2 years guarding a mining colony in a system so boring that even pirates avoided it. She read the orders 3 times, then she read them again. All hands to battle stations. Prepare for immediate departure. Full combat deployment. Her first officer, a tall man named Sergeant, appeared at her door. Captain, is this real? Are we really moving the entire fleet? Put down her coffee. It is real. But they are not even allied with us. We have no treaty with them, no trade agreements, nothing. They asked for help, that is enough. She walked to the bridge, her boots echoing in the metal corridors. Around her, the ship was waking up. Sailors ran to their posts. Engineers powered up systems that had been sleeping. The Avalanche had been quiet for 2 years. Now it was becoming a weapon again. On the bridge, took her chair and looked at the star map. The rendezvous point was 3 days away at maximum speed. From there, another day to the system. Navigation, plot a course. Engineering, I want everything we have. Push the engines hard. How hard, Captain? Smiled, it was not a kind smile. Until something breaks or we arrive, whichever comes first. Across human space, the same scene repeated itself on 432 ships. Old battleships that had been scheduled for retirement powered up their ancient engines. New carriers loaded fighters into their bays. Supply ships filled themselves with ammunition, food, and medical supplies. Lieutenant Minyu was a fighter pilot on the carrier. He was 26 years old, with a quick smile and quick hands that made him one of the best pilots in his squadron. He had joined the Navy for adventure, for excitement, for the chance to fly among the stars. He had never actually fought anyone. When the orders came, his squadron leader gathered them in the briefing room. Commander O was a serious woman who rarely joked and never smiled. Today, her face was even more serious than usual. You have all seen the orders. We are going to war. The pilots looked at each other. Some were excited, some were scared. Minyu was not sure what he felt. They have 200 ships, continued. They have conquered 11 species. They have never lost a major battle. She paused. They have never fought humans. Commander, one pilot asked, what are our chances? Looked at him for a long moment. We will have 400 ships, better technology, better training. She leaned forward. But they are brutal. They do not surrender. They do not retreat. This will not be easy. Minyu raised his hand. Commander, why are we doing this? They are strangers to us. Walked to the window. Outside, the fleet was assembling. Ships of every size filled the darkness. their lights blinking like stars that had decided to move. "Because someone has to," she said quietly. "Because if we do not help them, no one will. Because when we asked ourselves what kind of species we wanted to be, we decided we wanted to be the kind that answers when someone calls for help." She turned back to her pilots. "Get some sleep, check your fighters, write letters to your families if you need to. We arrive in 4 days." On Earth, General received a visitor. The diplomat had requested an urgent meeting. Though we're one of the oldest species in the sector, respected and careful, they did not like surprises. Met him in her office, a simple room with metal walls and no decorations. She did not offer him a seat. "General," said, his voice tight, "the Galactic Council is concerned. You are mobilizing your entire fleet. This is unprecedented." They asked for help. Yes, but surely a smaller force would be appropriate. A few ships to show solidarity, perhaps some humanitarian supplies. This response is disproportionate. Looked at him with eyes like stones. Disproportionate, interesting word. Is 200 ships attacking 3 million civilians proportionate? The Council does not wish to see this conflict expand. Then the Council should have helped the shifted uncomfortably. The political situation is complicated. They are powerful. Many species depend on trade routes they control. To openly oppose them would be economically damaging. Stood slowly. She walked around her desk until she was standing very close to the diplomat. "Let me tell you something about humans. We are young. We are new to this galaxy. We have not learned your politics. We have not learned your careful calculations. We still remember what it was like to be helpless. We still remember what it was like when no one came to help us." She pointed at the display showing the fleet assembling. "Those ships are not going to make a gesture. They are not going to send a message. They are going to save 3 million people who are waiting to die. And if they do not like it, they can try to stop us." Swallowed, "The Council will protest this action." "Let them protest. We will be too busy fighting to hear them." She walked to the door and opened it. "Goodbye, Ambassador. When this is over, you can tell the Council that humans do not do proportionate. We do not do careful. We do not do political." She looked at him one final time. "We do everything or we do nothing. There is no middle with us." Left without another word, closed the door and returned to her display. The fleet was almost assembled. 432 ships carrying 200,000 sailors and soldiers. In 2 days, they would jump to the system. In 2 days, they would learn that they had made a terrible mistake. Commander had not slept in 4 days. She stood on the bridge of the cruiser Starlight, one of the last 3 ships defending her people. The other 2 ships hid with her in the shadow of the largest moon, their systems powered down to avoid detection. Above them the fleet waited, 212 ships, patient and cruel. They were not in a hurry. They knew they had nowhere to run. Every few hours they sent bombers to attack the planet. They targeted hospitals, schools, and shelters. They were not trying to win a war. They were trying to break the spirit of a people before they conquered them. Watched the latest attack through her sensors. Explosions bloomed in the capital city. Thousands more dead. Thousands more homeless. Her weapons officer, a young male named, stood beside her. His scales had gone completely white, the color of deep mourning. "Commander, how much longer can we hide?" "I do not know. Should we attack, we could take a few of them with us." Shook her head. "If we die, there is no one left to protect the evacuation ships. 18 transports are loading civilians right now. We stay hidden until they are ready to run." "Run to where?" "To control all the exits from this system." Had no answer. She had stopped believing in hope days ago. Now she believed only in buying time. Every hour they survived was an hour more for her people to live. Her sensors officer suddenly made a strange sound, something between a gasp and a cry. "Commander, new contacts, many new contacts." heart turned to ice, reinforcements, as if 200 ships were not enough. How many? The officer did not answer. He was staring at his screen, mouth open. How many? Demanded. I cannot count them all. Hundreds, the signatures are. They are not, they are human. Ran to the sensor station and looked at the screen herself. It was filled with blue markers. So many blue markers that they overlapped and merged. Ships were appearing at the edge of the system in wave after wave, more ships than she had seen in her entire life. That is impossible, she whispered. The humans do not have this many ships. No one has this many ships. But they kept coming. Carriers the size of small cities, battleships covered in guns, destroyers moving in tight formations like predators hunting together, and behind them support vessels, medical ships, and troop transports. Then a voice came through every channel in the system. It spoke in perfect, and it spoke in the harsh language of and it spoke in the human tongue. The message was the same in all three. Imperial Fleet, this is Admiral Park of the United Earth Navy. You have attacked a species under humanity's protection. You have 1 hour to withdraw from this system. If you remain, we will destroy you. This is your only warning. In the center of the formation, Warlord listened to the message and laughed. He was large even for with 4 arms and skin like cracked stone. He had conquered 6 worlds and killed more enemies than he could remember. Humans, he said, amused. The young ones finally want to fight. His tactical officer studied the sensor data. Warlord, they have brought many ships, more than we expected. How many? Our count shows over 400. Stopped laughing. 400. That is their entire fleet. They left their own worlds undefended. It appears so, Warlord. Thought about this. It made no sense. No species risked everything for strangers. No species left their homes unprotected to save people they had never met. It had to be a trick. It had to be fake signatures or sensor ghosts. They are bluffing, he decided. They want us to run without fighting, ignore them, continue the bombardment. His tactical officer hesitated. Warlord, should we not answer their message? Why, what will they do if we do not answer? 58 minutes passed. The human fleet moved closer. The fleet held position. On the planet below, more bombs fell. More cities burned. Then the hour ended. Admiral Park stood on the bridge of the Indomitable. Around him, 400 ships waited for his order. 200,000 humans prepared to fight and die for a species they had never met. Admiral, his first officer said, they are not leaving. I did not expect them to. Your orders. Park looked at the tactical display. He saw the fleet, confident and still. He saw the ships hiding behind the moon, broken and desperate. He saw the burning planet and thought of 3 million people waiting to be saved or conquered. All ships, he said calmly, begin attack. The human fleet moved forward like a wave of steel and fire. Fighters launched from carriers by the hundreds. Battleships powered up weapons that could crack moons. Destroyers accelerated to attack speed, their crews ready for close combat. Commander watched from her hiding spot, tears running down her scaled face. She had accepted death. She had accepted that her people would be enslaved and forgotten. She had accepted that no one cared about 3 million souls on a small world in a quiet corner of the galaxy. She had been wrong. They came, she whispered to no one. They really came. Her weapons officer stood beside her, staring at the screen. Commander, they sent everything, their entire fleet for us. Nodded, unable to speak. In all her years, in all the history she had studied, she had never seen anything like this. A species risking everything they had for strangers. A species that answered a cry for help not with words or sympathy but with 400 warships. The first missiles flew, the first guns fired, the Battle of Prime had begun. And they were about to learn that humans did not make empty threats. Warlord realized He was going to die about 3 minutes into the battle. The humans did not fight like any species he had conquered before. They had formed defensive lines and waited to be broken. They had tried to negotiate even as they died. They had scattered and run. Humans did none of these things. Humans attacked. They came from every direction at once. Destroyers dove into the formation like wolves entering a herd of prey. Fighters swarmed around capital ships, targeting engines and weapon systems. Battleships fired that punched through armor like paper. Warlord, his tactical officer, screamed, "They are everywhere, our formation is breaking." Watched a cruiser explode on his screen, then another, then 3 more. Fall back, regroup at the secondary position. But there was no secondary position. The humans had planned this attack carefully. They had cut off every retreat. They had surrounded the fleet in a sphere of fire and death. Captain Lee drove the Avalanche straight into the heart of the enemy fleet. Her destroyer twisted and turned between ships, moving too fast to target. Her gunners fired constantly, putting rounds into engines, bridges, and ammunition stores. "Captain," her navigator shouted, "cruiser on our left, he is trying to ram us." "Hard right, point defense, target his missiles." The Avalanche spun away just as the cruiser passed, saw the enemy ship through her window, close enough to see the individual weapon ports. Her gunners fired one last volley into its engine block. The cruiser shuddered and went dark, drifting dead in space. "Good shooting," said. "Find us another target." Across the battlefield, Lieutenant Minyu was learning what war really meant. His fighter danced between explosions and debris. His hands moved without thinking, dodging enemy fire, lining up shots, pulling the trigger. He had destroyed 2 ships already. Small ones, patrol craft, but he had killed the beings inside them. He tried not to think about that. "Squadron 7, his commander's voice crackled in his helmet. "Enemy bombers heading for the planet. Intercept and destroy." Minyu looked at his scanner. 20 bombers loaded with weapons meant for cities. If they reached the planet, thousands more would die. "Copy that," he said, and turned his fighter toward the bombers. They saw him coming. Some of them broke off to fight. Others continued toward the planet, determined to complete their mission. Minyu chose his target and fired. His missiles flew true. One bomber became a fireball. Then another. Then another. A fighter came at him from behind. He heard the warning alarm screaming. He pulled hard on his controls, twisting away just as enemy rounds passed through the space where he had been. "Too close," he whispered, "too close." He turned back and destroyed the fighter that had almost killed him. His hands were shaking. His heart was beating so fast he could hear it in his ears. But he did not stop. He could not stop. Below him, 3 million people were counting on him. On the Indomitable, Admiral Park watched the battle unfold on his tactical display. The fleet was falling apart. They had lost 40 ships in the first 10 minutes. They were losing more every second. But humans were dying too. "Admiral," his communications officer reported, "the destroyer Brave has been destroyed. The cruiser Morning Star is requesting evacuation. Heavy casualties on the carrier Horizon." Park closed his eyes for a moment. Every death was a person. Every destroyed ship was hundreds of families who would receive terrible news. But he could not think about that now. He had to think about winning. Tell the Horizon to fall back. Move the battleship Hammer of Dawn into position for a shot on the enemy command ship. I want this ended. Commander had stopped hiding. Her 3 remaining ships had joined the battle, adding their small guns to the human assault. It was not much. Her ships were old and damaged, but she could not sit and watch while others fought for her people. "Commander," her weapons officer reported, "I have a target. Transport carrying prisoners from our outer colonies." Looked at the ship on her screen. 2,000 civilians packed into cages, being taken away to labor camps. "Can we save them?" If we disable the ship, human Marines can board it. Then fire, aim for their engines. I want that ship stopped, not destroyed. Her old guns fired. The shots hit the transport's engine block. The ship stopped dead in space. This is Commander, she broadcast on human frequencies. Disabled enemy transport at coordinates 774. Prisoners aboard. Request immediate boarding. The response came instantly. Copy, Commander, Marines en route. Watched as a human troop transport changed course toward the disabled ship. Fast, professional, not a moment wasted. In the center of the chaos, Warlord understood that everything was lost. Half his fleet was destroyed. His ships were scattered and confused. The humans were everywhere, relentless and furious. Warlord, his last surviving officer, said, "We should surrender." Stared at him, did not surrender, conquered or died. There was no other option. "Never," he growled, "continue fighting." But there was nothing left to fight with. His escort ships were gone. His weapons were damaged. And through his bridge window, he could see a human battleship turning toward him. The Hammer of Dawn, the largest ship in the human fleet. Its were already glowing with power. Warlord, the ship's computer announced, incoming fire detected. Stood tall, he had conquered 6 worlds. He had killed thousands. He had never known fear. He knew it now. The rounds hit his flagship, 4 of them one after another. Each one tore through armor and steel and flesh. Warlord died sitting on his command throne, still refusing to surrender. Around him the battle continued, but its outcome was no longer in doubt. The humans had come, and they had won. The Battle of Prime lasted 6 hours. When it ended, the space around the planet was filled with wreckage. Broken ships drifted in silence. Escape pods blinked in the darkness, waiting to be rescued. Of the 212 ships, 189 were destroyed. 23 had surrendered when their command ship was killed. Their crews now sat in human cells, prisoners of a war they had expected to win easily. The human fleet had lost 41 ships. 3,200 sailors would never go home. Their names were already being carved into memorial walls on a dozen worlds. Admiral Park stood on the bridge of the Indomitable and looked at the aftermath. His hands were steady, but his heart was heavy. Every lost ship was a failure. Every death was a weight he would carry forever. "Admiral," his communications officer said gently, "General is on the line." Park turned to the screen. His face appeared, tired but proud. "It is done," he said. "I know," she paused. "You did well. You saved them." "Not all of them. 3,000 of our people died. Thousands more died in the bombardment before we arrived. But millions lived. Because of you, because of our fleet, remember that." Park nodded slowly. He would try to remember. In the dark nights ahead, when the faces of the dead visited his dreams, he would try to remember that millions had lived. "Bring them home," said softly. "Bring all of them home." On the planet below, the people have emerged from their shelters. They looked up at the sky and saw human ships instead of bombers. They saw rescue shuttles landing in their destroyed cities, bringing doctors, food, and hope. Many of them cried. Some fell to their knees. After 19 days of terror, after accepting that they would be conquered and enslaved, they were free. Captain Lee sat in her damaged ship and watched the rescue operations through her window. The Avalanche had taken heavy damage in the battle. Her left engine was destroyed. Her hull had 3 holes that emergency shields barely held closed. She had lost 14 crew members. But she was alive. Her ship was alive. And below her, 3 million people were alive because she had fought for them. "Captain," her first officer said, "you should rest. You have been awake for 2 days." Later, kept watching the shuttles descending. "I want to see this. I want to remember why we came." Lieutenant Minu landed his fighter on the with one wing missing, and his fuel nearly empty. His hands shook so badly that the deck crew had to help him out of the cockpit. He had destroyed 8 enemy ships. He had saved thousands of lives. He was a hero. He did not feel like a hero. He felt small and tired and scared. Commander O met him on the deck. She looked at his damaged fighter, then at his face. "You did good work today, Lieutenant." Minyu tried to answer, but no words came out. His eyes were wet. Put a hand on his shoulder. "It is okay to feel this way. War is not what the stories tell you. It is ugly and terrible, and it breaks something inside you." She paused. "But sometimes it is necessary. Sometimes we fight so that others can live. That is what you did today." Minyu nodded. He still could not speak. "Go rest," said. "Sleep, eat, cry if you need to. Tomorrow will be easier. The day after will be easier still. And eventually you will understand that what you did here mattered." 2 weeks later, Ambassador Telos traveled to Earth. He had requested a meeting with General, and she had agreed. They met in her office, the same simple room with metal walls, the same hard chair where the diplomat had sat before the battle. Telos sat down slowly. He was old for his scales faded and his movements careful, but his eyes were bright with emotion. "I have come to thank you," he said, "but I do not have words big enough. What you did for us. No one has ever done such a thing. No species has ever risked so much for strangers." Leaned back in her chair. "We did what we had to do." "But why? We have nothing to offer you. We are small and weak. We have no great resources, no powerful weapons, no strategic value. The galaxy told us we were not worth saving. Why did you think differently?" Was quiet for a long moment. She looked at the display on her wall, showing the names of the 3,000 humans who had died at Prime. "Because we were small once too," she said finally. "Because we know what it feels like to be alone and afraid. Because when we reached the stars, we promised ourselves that we would never walk past someone who needed help." She looked directly at Telos. "You asked for help, that was enough. It will always be enough." Telos bowed his head. Tears fell from his eyes onto the metal floor. "My people will never forget this. In 1,000 years, we will still tell the story of the humans who came when no one else would. We will teach our children that when the galaxy abandoned us, one species answered." Stood and walked to the window. Outside, the sun was setting over the mountains. "Tell them something else too," she said. "Tell them that they are not alone anymore. Tell them that if anyone threatens them again, they can call us. And tell them." She turned back to Telos, and for the first time she smiled. "Tell them we will bring everyone." The story spread through the galaxy like fire. It was told in 100 languages on 1,000 worlds. Species who had never spoken to humans suddenly wanted to meet them. Powers who had dismissed Earth as unimportant now watched with new respect and new fear. The Empire retreated to their home systems. Their expansion ended. They had learned a lesson that would shape their policy for generations. Do not touch species protected by humans. Do not give humans a reason to come. And throughout the galaxy, in quiet places where the weak hid from the strong, a new hope was born. A hope that whispered in the darkness and grew stronger every day. If you are small, if you are weak, if everyone else has abandoned you, call the humans. They will answer. And they will bring everyone.